Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stallions Run. As you can see, we have a special guest with us today. But real quick, always, I'm your host Buck with Scout, and we do have that special guest. Welcome, Keegan. Birmingham fans, you probably are familiar with this man from last season. We have a lot to talk about, though. I mean, we have the first game of the UFL season, first Birmingham game, and win against Arlington. I'm happy to say that, not the opposite. And also, we got to talk to Keegan, kind of talk about working with the USFL last season and just kind of his thoughts on the UFL course. I want to hear that. But I guess, guys, Scout, me and you, we were both in Arlington,
Yeah.
and I spent about 4 days. The day we're recording this is the day I got back. So I left on a Friday. I'm back on a Monday. So basically, as soon as this is done recording, I'm going straight to bed because I'm very tired. Uh,
Yeah.
but Scout, starting off with you, your thoughts on Arlington because you beat me by a little bit.
Yeah, so it was straight culture shock for me. If you follow along, we stayed in West Monroe and then we went to Duck Commander, which I thought was so funny. Duck Dynasty for those not familiar. And then we went to Dallas and we took a few stops and I was told I need to get a cowboy hat and I realized I have too big of a noggin to get a normal cowboy hat from a store. But so when we went to Dallas, I literally played the Dallas theme song like from the TV show because like my parents showed me that all the time. And then, but you pass Dallas, and then you get into this little like suburb or this little. You can see Fort
Mhm.
Worth, but it's not quite Fort Worth. And then you see the gloriousness that is Jerry's World, AT&T Stadium, Cowboy Stadium, and that I think I took like 10 pictures. Like I was like we were like 2 miles out, and you could still see it. And then the hotel we ended up staying at was the Live, which is like right there, and you get on one end of it you get to see AT&T Stadium, on the other end you get to see Texas Live and Globe Life Stadium and Choctaw Stadium. So I literally got to wake up and immediately out the window I got to see Choctaw, which I thought was a really cool experience. Um, and then just another comment on Texas Live. So for those that haven't been, it is where they did a lot of the XFL things last year. It's a
Mhm.
two-story sports bar where one wall is just a straight TV screen, basically. There's one huge TV, and then there's like a few mini TVs surrounding it. Very cool. We had pizza there. We had some tacos there. Pizza was good. Tacos were okay. And then hey, I had those Troy's
Okay, so I
fries that
wasn't
I
the only
think.
one who wasn't a fan of the tacos from Guy
Yeah, the
Fieri's.
tacos. Yeah. Well, I had one of those from, I forgot who gave it to me. I don't, it wasn't Jonah, but it was one of the Stallions guys. And then I had the Rebels Republic or the Rangers Republic.
Rangers Republic?
Um,
Yeah.
that place was okay too. But Troy's, the fries at Troy's, because I came that night, I was so hungry. Like, because we all ate at like 3 o'clock, like right after the game. Like that was a dinner. But as a big growing boy, I was like, hey, I need more food. So I went to Troy's. I got a fry, and it was $5, which isn't that bad, honestly. And then I was like, and then I literally I think put like a $2 or $3 tip on like a $5 thing because it was like the atmosphere was just great. Like it was like
Mhm.
it took 2 minutes to get my fries, and then like the bartender and like the waiters and waitresses were just like having conversation the whole time. I was like, wow. And then the bartender, right before I finished my fries, he was like, dude, the Rangers game just ended. There's gonna be a flood of people in here. You might want to skedaddle. And I was like, thanks, man. So, but yeah, that was my Arlington, overall experience. I think we'll go into the game in a minute. But Buck, how about you? Oh, and last shout out, we did see, the Horsemen, the Banditos, great food. And also shout out to PFN because we did run into, the ref and Zach and
Hey,
Luke and all
Stock
them.
3.
Yeah, in Spring Stock 3, which they had free shirts this year. I wanted to make a
Mm.
comment about that, but the stream had already started, and I was like, because I remember last year they cost money. I guess they didn't sell a lot, so they were free this year. But I would have picked one up, and then by the time I picked one up, it was like they were all like 2XLs. And that's not a fault to them. I think it's really cool that now they just give them for free if you show up, you get one. But
Yeah.
yeah, but now on to you.
Yeah. So because of school, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fly. I'll take the extra money. I don't want to drive anyway. So I flew. So I drove 3 hours east to Atlanta. I had the sun in
Uh,
my eyes because, sun rises in the east. That was fun. Driving on I-75, and hoping I don't crash. Uh, thank God I didn't. And then get to the airport. Flew into Dallas. First time I've been to at least the Dallas airport since I was like 10. So I was like, okay, this is probably really different. Um, but I got hopped on a train. I went to go into downtown Dallas just to say, okay, look, I was in downtown Dallas. Shout out to Family Ties, like Thailand, Thai. Uh, they're right at the first dart stop on for the light rail. Best pad Thai I've ever had, and it's like actual like Thai food, not like breaded
Yeah,
fried chicken. It was like grilled sauteed chicken. I was like, thank God. Um,
beautiful.
but at Thai, uh, then I was like, man, that like I probably should have thought this out. It was like, okay, I'm a history buff. If I'm in Dallas, you got to go see where JFK got his brains blown out. So I'm like, okay,
God,
I'm
what?
just saying.
Oh my God.
And so I'm like,
I
okay,
knew where it
I'll
was
go see the
going.
book depository, and then I'll go see the road. Where Lee Harvey Oswald. That's all I'm gonna say. Lee Harvey Oswald.
Stop, stop. We're gonna have to like
uh,
crop it.
where the shots were fired. I ran up on the grass, and all that, and then I went and saw the memorial and there's another kind of like it's a kind of a pseudo memorial. It's like where development was for
Yeah,
Dallas during with the Workers Progress Administration from the Great Depression. They kind of retrofitted some stuff after his death to kind of fit in right there. So I did that. Ben took an Uber from downtown to Arlington. I think we kind of came in the opposite way because I came in. I first saw Six Flags, and I actually saw Choctaw first, then Globe Life, and then I could see a little bit over the edge because uh, the new Lowe's Hotel and then Live by Lowe's, they kind of block AT&T, so I could kind of see the dome edge, but that was it for me. But I stayed
mhm.
about half a mile from Choctaw. I was at the Sheraton, so it was a quick walk for me. I enjoyed it. So, I very much enjoyed my Friday. And then I guess let's talk about the games. So you kind of mentioned it earlier, Scout.
Yeah,
We were there 9 a.m. We were getting things going. Game
bright
was
and
at
early.
12. So yes. So we did the different tailgates. Again, shout out to the Los Banditos. I had a big breakfast because I knew I was going to be walking around and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So I didn't get any lunch or anything like that. And I was like, but I
dude.
really wanted the steak quesadilla. I wanted the steak quesadilla so bad.
That sounds good. That
Hey,
sounds
So
Scout, tell us about that beauty of a quesadilla.
So I had a quick timeout because you had the Sheraton experience of a great
Oh,
morning
oh
meal,
no.
and then I had the I also had a experience. I forgot what that place is called already. It was the in the bottom of the live, but I had to give a shout out to these people. The waiter who probably has all these very expensive meat like meals or whatever that people ask for. I was just like, can I get plain French toast? Because it was French toast that had like blueberry sauce on it and like a garnish. And I was like, I just want French toast, add
Yeah,
powdered sugar. And then guess what? I got
French
like
toast with
these.
blueberries is amazing. What are you on about?
Look, okay, but I had this like thick little brioche Texas or like not Texas toast, French toast thing. Um, and it was so good. It was so good. And it was only like I think it was like $14, $15. It was insane. Now everything else, the sides and everything, don't talk about those sorry prices. But at least my little slices of toast were fine. Anyways, but the steak quesadilla. So Los Banditos, for those that don't know, Brown Bullpen has a relationship with Los Banditos. They don't have Twitter. They don't really have a outgoing thing, but they do have like man-to-man connections with the bullpen. And since we
Mhm.
know the bullpen or we know parts of the bullpen now, it was really easy. We just walked over with them. They saw them. They had a little conversation. They're like, "Hey, these are our friends," and then we were eating. and they had breakfast tacos, which I had one, which I think is what made the white people tacos taste worse later down the road. And then they had hot dogs and they had cookies. And okay, who's everybody was sleeping on the Shipley's donuts. Like I'm a Florida guy, so like Shipley's is like there's a lot in the touristy parts of Florida. Shipley's donuts. They were there was only one guy, and there were like 20 in the box by the time I got there, and I got there, 3 hours, whatever. But the steak quesadilla. So you look over, and there's this big Cowboys smoker grill, right? And
Yeah,
then
it's the same smoker they use when they tailgate the Cowboys games.
for sure. And I thought it was burgers at first, and then I see this like chunk of shredded cheese, like chopped up, like their own. They chopped it up themselves, cheese, and I'm like, hold on. And I see tortillas, and I'm like, I know what's going on, and it was so thick, but the only gripe, and it really wasn't a gripe, but there was so much cheese that the more I was eating out of one side, I could just like see this glob growing on the outside. I just threw it on the
But that's
grass.
how you know
I
it's
did
good.
not.
That's how you know
It
it's
was
good.
good. It was great. And then the funny thing is the guy like he had like steak strips because they had too much meat. They didn't have enough cheese and tortillas to make more quesadilla. And he had just chopped up the steak and was like, "Hey, do you want it?" And I was just like, "I don't know," but it was so funny. And then people are gonna realize we have so much personality when we actually have things to talk about. Anyways, um, and we met this guy. You had already left, but the MK Bandit, he does like I think it's lower level wrestling or something. And then he was
Oh yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
we
the
talked. I talked
XFL.
to him. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was.
and
I
I
mean,
was like,
let's talk about the 2001 XFL. It was like
yeah.
the
And then
guy
he was
treasure trove.
Yeah, and I was like, cause like he said apparently, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not supposed to say this, but he has at least one of the He Hate Me jerseys, and it's like he got him to sign it. I'm like, and he just casually dropped. Anyways, but it was really cool guys. Everybody we met there was great. We should probably get to the game at some point.
Yeah.
So the
Okay.
game.
Okay. Thoughts. Choctaw is very clearly a retrofitted baseball stadium, and it's very clear the top part of it's abandoned. It's like the
Yes,
elevators that you use to get up,
tarp.
they're actually like there's wood. I'm not joking. It's not tarp. They actually have wooden boxes over the bottom of the escalators, so they
Oh, I
don't
didn't
have
see that
people
part.
get climb. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Um. But also no. Let me say this also. The bottom level they keep in excellent condition.
Yeah,
Let me say, does it have a '90s feel to it? Absolutely. You could tell it was a stadium built in the '90s.
the
Just like
outside.
as a Giants fan, I'll say it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Here's the thing. I love the outside. I love the decoration
I
stuff
love
like
it
that. I love
too.
the little. God, it
The
has this beautiful
hieroglyphics.
stonework of like the story of Texas, and it's like, how do you not like keep this and like put it in globe life, or at least take one of the
Yeah,
sides out and put it in globe life? Because it's like
and
you
you
see,
look
like,
at.
oh, here's like representing of the astronauts in the space shuttle program. Here's how they,
Mhm.
talk about oil. Here's like kind of a meeting between settlers and natives, and it's just like this is a beautiful sandstone artwork. It's just
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, and then you look
you know.
at the next door, and it's just it's just like an indoor
It's the
facility
grill. It's the
basically.
grill.
Yeah, it's just like a little steel thing. Now, I will say it's a beautiful thing. Like there's a place where you could walk up and just look into it. Beautiful stadium, and everybody said that Globe Life is better than Choctaw. Because as someone that went to the July 4th Braves game last year, sitting outside in 100-degree weather, not the greatest. So.
Hey. Oh,
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, but the one thing I will say, the one negative, because I did like Choctaw, even though it was just a one floor converted baseball stadium.
mhm.
The one negative was, and this is something totally specific, but I knew that they sold beer in souvenir cups last year, souvenir Choctaw Stadium cups,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm of age now. Let me buy a beer. So then me and Neon we go up and I'm like, hey, do y'all still have souvenir cups anywhere? Just the one of the drink guys. He's like, yeah, but it's broke right now. And I was like, And I'm just like, but okay. But I get one of the other guys said you could just buy them from the casino's like website or something. So I'm like, hey, I'll probably
Oh,
just do that and be like, but yeah, but I thought that was fun. And then okay, so for
mhm.
kickoff, so you were sitting near us, and it was within 5 minutes that we were told to sit down. Or were you there at that
Yeah.
time? Because like we were, so
Okay,
there's
so here's the
about
thing. Here's the thing. So, okay, let me complain about this. I have a complaint about Choctaw. The section numbers are awful. You think you're sitting.
yeah.
I go and take my seat. I thought I was in the right section. Turns out I was a section over. So
Okay.
I got yelled at by a guy. So I had to go. I went over to the right section. Um, and I said, then I go to the row. There's a guy sitting in my seat with his kids. So I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. I'll just sit. There's some empty seats right near it. You know. All right, deal with that. Sit down. Like the game's going. It's like 10 minutes into the first quarter. Two guys show up. I'm just gonna call them douchebags. Like, hey, get out of the seat. This is my seat. I'm like, okay, all right. Now let me say this also. I bought cheap seats on purpose because I was like already kind of playing about the second quarter. I'm gonna start sneaking over to where the horsemen were. Those were the expensive seats. I'll find something there. I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going right now.
Yeah.
So let me say this also. If you look at the ticket prices for the Renegades, they're not great. And let me
Yeah.
say, I thought this was at first maybe a UFL thing. I was completely wrong because I was looking at going to the rugby team game that was at the same stadium on Friday, and it was nearly the same exact ticket prices. And I realized, oh, it's the
Yeah.
stadium. It's not the
Yeah,
team
because
itself or the
so we
league.
came in Friday night, and obviously PFN guys wanted me to go to the Frisco game, and I ended up going to the Frisco game. But I'd also looked at, because I really didn't want to drop out Frisco, I looked at the rugby team, and I saw
Jackals.
like $40 tickets or $30 tickets, and I'm like, dude, like my whole family got into the IFL game for one ticket price, and I'm like, and for those that aren't in Frisco, I like the game. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, but
Mm.
anyways, so the start of the actual game, we'll probably have to have a ticker in the episode for this, but the start of the actual game. So it started off really slow. We got the ball, and then we couldn't really do anything with it. The first couple drives kind of seemed like that, but then our corners earlier on were being burnt quite frequently.
Yeah,
And then it eventually killed us, and we were eventually, was it 11-3 we were down, or 11-0? I think it was 11-3. Yeah, because it
it
was
was
3-3
11-3.
and then 11-3. Yeah.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
the and then I will say just like quick little breakdown, and I'll let Buck talk about the first half. That the biggest play to me was the Adrian Martinez run before going into the
Hmm.
Matt Corral like Hail Mary to Dion
Yeah.
in the end zone. Because that if we don't get that run, we don't score. Because that was like a 30-yard run out of
Yo,
his
yeah.
butt. Like it was he was at the 10-yard line, he runs all the way down the field, and he's we're at the 40 or 50 already. But yeah. But Buck, what was your thoughts on the first half? And then we'll get to Keegan. That-
I thought it was a game where both teams were, and the Renegades is a lot faster. We're just trying to figure out, okay, how do we kind of play this now that it's not a scrimmage, it's not a practice, this is an actual game. I think the Renegades were able to kind of figure it out first, but here's the problem. This is what I told Ace after the game. Skip Holtz will adjust anything. If he
Mhm.
is up by 45 and the other team they're shutting them out, he will still make adjustments. And that's what he did. He figured out how to make those adjustments. And it's just like, okay, we started getting something going. We're tied going into half. Let's take it. Let's adjust the game plan. And that's how the Stallions win their football games. It's not hard. It's just Coach Holtz is analyzing every single detail, and that's how he has two championships. And he was adjusting throughout the first half. You just saw now that he had more time where he could talk to the players and not just through a radio or on the sidelines where he needs to speak to 11 different people or 12 different people. It's now, okay, we're all in the locker room. All right, Matt, you do this. Dion, you do this. It's so simple. I hate saying simple, but at the same time, adjustments. It's just like that. Now, again, are they easy to instantly do? No, but it's very clear that's what happened, and that's why I said this to someone before the game. Bob Stoops, and I say this with all respect. The man, he has a legacy and a rightful one. But here's the problem: Bob Stoops has always been an arrogant coach. He will run that game
Yeah.
plan into the ground, even if they're losing by 30. He that's that again. That's where you have to adjust as a coach. You can't wait until the fourth quarter to make those adjustments. So that's just my take. Keegan, I think you might be agreeing with some of my takes that I have.
Yeah, 100% agree. Coach Holtz does something that guys like Kyle Shanahan don't know how to do. It's adjust. And look, hey, I know I'm coming straight for jugulars there for young coaches, but he's got nearly 22 years, 22 seasons of experience. I think I saw on an infographic. He's one of the more seasoned guys of this league. You would expect that from a guy like Skip Holtz. He knows what he has, and even when it's a drastic turnaround like they've had this season, even when it's going in and you're competing against guys that you've never competed against, you would almost expect. Like for me personally, when I watched that game, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I got to have a little bit of grace for these guys, because not only is this the first time that they're going live, obviously you have scrimmages leading up like a week before, 2 weeks before. I don't know what the schedule was with the UFL, but with the USFL last year, we were doing it a week, 2 weeks in advance. And so you kind of get your looks there, but now it's live and now it counts. You got to give a little bit of grace, because you're trying to get looks for the speed, the pace, and everything. It's similar. I mean, it is pretty much the NFL. They do the same thing week one. It's going to be rusty. It's going to be ugly football, but they took their chances and they capitalized. I think you're right, Scott. You talk about Adrian Martinez, man. If he doesn't rush that first, that getting him into their territory, and then Corral taking that shot to Kane, that doesn't set up that play. I like how he obviously integrated both quarterbacks early on. That's kind of his signature. That's his MO. And you got to see how Martinez and Corral looked early on. Obviously, I would expect more for Corral going forward, and I think it's only going to improve. Obviously, it did over the duration of this game, but I was impressed. I was really impressed. Everything gelled. I was mostly impressed with Mark Gilbert, and I was mostly impressed with the front four. I think the defense speaks volumes. And my dad and I had this conversation, if I can add one more point before we get into the second half. We talked about the linebacking core specifically. You bring over guys like Chiava Tizzino to complement Scooby Wright. You had depth that you added later on in the season last year with oh gosh, I'm blanking. I even worked for the team, the Chargers vet that they brought over. Yeah, right. That's what I'm thinking.
I know this name.
Oh my!
Hang on, I'm gonna.
He was in the.
I'm gonna.
It's gonna.
The Chargers vet? Oh, Damon Lloyd from the Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Yes, I am so sorry, Damon. My bad. That's on me.
I didn't even know. Sadly, even though I'm pretty sure he follows me, I didn't know he had the Chargers sent. But when I looked at the list of players that we've had and then the NFL, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I just general with the linebacking core in the secondary. You bring over guys like Mark Gilbert from the shelved Pittsburgh, Rick Pittsburgh. Moment of silence for them. Thank you. But anyway, no, I think that you bring over guys like that, that's going to bode well in the long term. And I think that's the biggest thing that definitely proved to be. That's going to be one of the most dominant defenses in the league going forward. And they're going to be a tough out. I just don't see how the Stallions don't make it and be the last man standing in this season. I honestly don't. I think, and that's just not me subjective. I just think that they looked really good against the guys that won it last year in the XFL. So that's a pretty good statement early on. So
I'd made a shot or two about I think it was the Stallions. I said the Stallions would play the Panthers I just didn't know where we would in the playoffs.
Mhm.
But and I didn't think that the Stallions and Panthers would be the most impressive teams because I think they were this week, but I didn't think that beforehand.
Right.
But I think just like between the performances of Houston and DC and Memphis, there was such a lack of, and I know DC's on the other side, I'm just saying as another team, but there was such a lack of like coherency with those teams and how they played that I'm like, Arlington looked good. Like I put Arlington above some of the other teams. Like, okay, look, they had flashes. Look, St. Louis and
Okay,
Arlington.
okay, again, okay. Like I said last week, okay, I'm gonna say this again. This is the issue with a Bob Stoops team. You'll have flashes, and then they'll have a good game, but they don't sustain that. He doesn't have that substance where it
Hey, big
lasts.
game,
That's
Bob,
the main
baby.
issue.
Hey, you know what my issue is, Bob Stoops, that your buddy Steve Spurrier was there Thursday and not there Saturday. I'm a huge
No,
head ball coach guy, and I'm like, he was there on Thursday and not there Saturday. He probably had some golf tournament or charity event in Gainesville, Florida, or Columbia, South Carolina, but come on, man. And especially when he made the comment about I to this day I think the Orlando Apollos were one of the best spring football teams. Like no matter what. But that's besides the point. But yeah, big game Bob, he definitely has that Mark Rick in him where he just has some games where you're not going to see the best team. But I think that they'll figure it out. Anyways, never mind that. But I do think the Stallions in the first half, there was moments where I legitimately thought they were going to put Jamar in. And I knew that we had that rule where if we put Jamar in, we can't take him out unless he gets injured. But especially the first time Corral went to the sideline, he looked so out of it. I wish I could have recorded it, but I try not to record any of the dramatic parts. But he came to the side. He didn't even take his helmet off. I'm pretty sure he just like sat down. He might have taken his helmet off by the time he sat down. There's somebody in between me and him at that point. But it takes a kick in the butt sometimes to get in the groove, and he got in the groove after that. So, but yeah, but I know the guys from like UFL today, they made a point of like Adrian Martinez played better than Matt Corral, and I could see that. But I do think that Matt Corral's the guy going forward. I think he has that one play. I posted a play that was an incompletion where he started running around for like 30 seconds. I'm like, this is exactly how Magoo played in like 2022, and I'm like and I'm saying 2022 as the year before he really popped off. So I think they see the ceiling with Corral, and they see that their success last year with Magoo. But the second half, we'll go in reverse order. Buck.
Basically, I mean, it's like I said before. You saw the adjustments, and then
Yeah.
basically you saw that Birmingham defense really solidify. Mark Gilbert's probably going to be seen as the best addition to a UFL team this year.
Yep.
I can't see any other possible candidate right now. Could change. Could change. We have 9 more games to play for a lot of teams. So, but man, God, he was all over everyone, and you love to see that. Um, so he's like one of those things where you're like, please don't get hurt. We need you on the defense. Um, but yeah, really impressed. CJ Marble, he really started to kind of come together right there, especially towards the end. It felt like finally, by the time the second half started, it was like, all right, the rust is coming off. Everyone's starting to finally click back in together.
You know,
Mhm,
you
for sure.
talk. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it?
No,
Oh,
you can go. You can go.
I was gonna say, you talk in terms of the run game. CJ's a great running back. They've always had tremendous depth. Obviously, Bo Scarborough retired before the season.
Mhm.
Um, I'm gonna give you a name, and you already know the name, but I promise you, I just saw it in him last year, being up close firsthand. Ricky Persons Jr. is going to be a guy in this league, and I will put
I mean, he was
I will
already a guy kind of for this game.
he was already a guy, but he's going to be an even bigger guy. And obviously, he was late to the scene last year, and now that he's kind of got this full week from, I want to say they went and picked him up early on in the season, relatively last year.
Mhm.
I want to say week 2, week 3. He was after a week 1 acquisition, but I definitely think he's going to have his work cut out for him. And I think there may be some games where he's going to have to, it's going to be a lot of the workload on him. Obviously, he scored, he was able to find the end zone in this game. And then CJ obviously was toting the rock a lot. But I really like Ricky going forward in this season. I think he's going to have a lot of responsibility. And I think this offense, he's going to make some pretty big plays, guys. I genuinely think that. Now, is a different conversation for a different day. Are they the best running back tandem, running back room? That's debatable. Well, I mean, we could probably talk about that on a rainy day, but they're going to be pretty solid going.
I would I need to see Roundtree because I think we could probably say we have the best like overall group, but I would have to see Roundtree play because until I see Roundtree play, it might have to go to Memphis at this point. Especially, dude, I got so scared when Victor went down, in their game, because it looked like non-contact. Thankfully, it was a cramp, but sometimes that can be really bad. And I knew that they're at Rice, and Rice's field isn't well, let's not say it's not the greatest, but it's our field. But yeah, but I think the running game was fine. I really liked the second half of play. I thought, let me give a shout out. Let me look at the roster. It's Robinson, Kenny Robinson. If Mark Gilbert wasn't the player of the game, Kenny Robinson would have been the player of the game because Kenny Robinson he saved a touchdown at least once. He was there. He had like 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And he was a beast. I think he had a great game. And what else? I'm just trying to think of like individual shout outs because y'all have already talked about the points and everything. Obviously, we pulled away at the end. We took control of that game. I think the play to me that really showed me that we took control was when Scooby actually beat everyone to the edge and played like a force to the inside. And I was like, wow, like that was a play to me where it's like I'm not a huge football head, but I'm like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, they should have had someone out there. Because Scooby's, he's fast for a linebacker, but somebody should have been able to block him, and he just went straight through. But yeah, but that was basically it. Also, I will say one shout out. I got to defend one homie. Kaya Tazino. I will never get your first name right, but Tazino, you played fine. Just because PFF hates linebackers, you played fine, and well, hopefully Mr. Chavis will do a easier job or make your job a little easier, because I'm pretty sure I know like 3 different plays that like knocked in heavy because there's 2 or 3 flat routes they got that turned into easy yardage that were his fault. But I'm like, if they're throwing a 5'10" running back out there, I don't think Tazino is really worried about him versus somebody running out of the backfield or something.
Yeah.
Especially when Perez is back there because Perez is a bigger target. But I think that was all of the picks. Oh, and obviously, I went viral for Jace Sternberger. Second play, his last catch of the game on the first drive. Thank you, Philip Montgomery. But he had he got stood up for about a second or two. Should have the whistle probably should have been blown, and then he got laid out from the side, and he got a
I wasn't going to talk about that, but since we're here, that absolutely needs to be addressed. Like that probably, I'm sure it was addressed internally today. They need to put out something saying like, "Hey, we're addressing that," because
100%.
How you allow that without a flag is just insane.
Yeah, and I heard a few people say, because like I asked some people when I was like at Texas Live, I was like, hey, there was a play at this moment. This was before it even like went viral. I was like, is there like a better angle that I can use? And apparently like that angle like was the only, like they didn't have one directly behind us. So like on the replay they only showed like the right below the jumbotron and then right below the scoreboard on each side. So, but it was like I didn't even say the name of the player in my tweet because like I knew the reaction, and there was still a reaction of people finding out said player. But yeah, definitely need to look at that a little bit because I saw there's even like some refs that would quoted his tweet and said like, yeah, this would have been a flag or like this would have been flagged. But I don't think it's a league issue. I think it was just a really bad mistake. And I think since it's week 1, I think, that mistake will be handled in-house and should be the last time we have to
Yeah.
handle that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
All right. Well, moving on from that Stallions victory this past weekend, a potentially really tough game up ahead. The Michigan Panthers shock win. I think we all agree on that over the St. Louis Battlehawks. Jake Bates with the 64-yard field goal twice. He does that twice in a row to get the win over St. Louis. I think the real story, though, is besides just Jake, who, again, shout out again, the Michigan defense, they are a lot scarier than I think a lot of people realize, including myself, coming into this season. I think this is going to be the first really big challenge for the Stallions. It's realizing this isn't the same Michigan team as last year. This is a team that is probably going to try to kill themselves towards the very end, just trying to make sure that they take away the football from you. And I'm not sure how. I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out because they show that they can make the interceptions. They show that they can take do a scoop and score or do tough tackles. I'm interested to see how the Stallions react to that defense. So,
Yeah.
Scott, what's your thoughts first?
Um, yeah, basically, I mean, we played them before. We played them in Michigan before, and that was the last time we played them. So I do think that it's a mentally, the whole thing of like, I love to use Auburn hasn't beat LSU in so long at LSU. Tennessee hasn't beat Florida so long at Florida. But you get that win out of the way, and I know Corral, this is his first time going up there as a Stallion. There's a few others, Gilbert Tizino, etc. But I think overall, especially, I think Skip is the main like the main constant in this because since Skip has been there the whole time, he's been able to make these like boys believe of like, hey, we can win here, hey, we can do this. But yeah, I think on offense it'll be fine. What I'm most worried about are the biggest matchup, and I think, everyone with a pulse that watched both games last week would tell you this, is our DBs or our defensive back scheme, defensive secondary scheme versus their receivers. And then to second that, if EJ runs, if we empty the box or like lessen the box, because like we're gonna have to have a fairly good 4-3-3-4 at least 7-man box, right? Um,
Mm.
and I don't think we'll be able to go to 3-3 as much or three or even definitely not 3-2. And because I think that was the one thing with St. Louis is that they just like they would get within the 10-yard line, and Michigan was perfectly fine with like running it, either emptying it out and getting easier to run, or just running it down your throat. And I think we'll be better at defending that, but I think it'll be this is not a betting show. Do not take this as betting advice, but the over will hit.
All right,
Like
Pat McAfee.
I love it when he does that. He's like, this is not a betting show. Please do not use this as betting advice. And then he like lists the whole like parlay. But yeah. But Keegan, what are your thoughts on the Michigan Panthers game?
Well, this could sound cliche, and this could also sound like a Pat McAfee quote. It could be a game of special teams, honestly. It's honestly what it could boil down to. I think that, and I think the run game is going to be heavy. Wes Hills, if you go back to week 3 of 2023, he diced this Stallions defense up every which way, but like he literally dismantled this defense single-handedly, and that allowed Flip to capitalize with the passing game later on in that game. Week 7, they were able to dial it up, and they were able to contain him a little bit more, but West was still able to have a game. And then in the playoffs, obviously, they couldn't get any continuity generated with the run game, and the Stallions were able to take care of business. I think it ultimately boils down to it's going to boil down to field position. I think it's going to be I know that's cliche. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I think it's going to boil down to your special teams. Obviously, we saw what happened with the Panthers this past weekend. Jake Bates is literally getting phone calls out the wazoo because he can bang 64 yarders. But even so, like guys like Wes Hills to complement that, set them up, get them those long distance runs, being able to contain that and being able to get the run game's number down quickly so that they're not able to break off those runs. And even in the red zone, I know they're running with the two-back combo. Same goes for the Stallions, but they looked pretty good against the Battlehawks with their run game. So I guess you could argue that the run game might be a crucial piece in this. But definitely, I think special teams is going to play an integral role both ways. Obviously, I think Chris Blewett, this is his first game with the Stallions, obviously in place of Brandon. And I think one of his kicks was obviously outdoors. There's a lot of different elements, 30 some odd yards. He misses it. You just hope that they show up, man. I really think it'll boil down to that special teams and what they're able to dial up.
Yeah, for sure.
You're completely right about Wes. You're also right about special teams. I'm not going to say my score yet because I want to save that a little for about a few minutes later. But I think this is going to be a close game. I think these are two teams that defensively very good. I think for me, I think you're right about special teams, but I think it's also going to boil down to offense.
Yeah.
It's going to be who can get the ball across past that defense faster. So it's probably going to be quick throws. Try to see how many yards you can get. So okay, can CJ get at least 3 yards for this run? Can we get maybe a 5-yard pass? Okay, we got down 3rd and 2. All right, let's see if we can just sneak through with another run. Let's get the check down. Let's just try to keep this going. And I think that's going to be basically the game. And I don't think it's going to be a pretty game. I think this is going to be, and I'm going to kind of use my Titans fan kind of ism with this, smash mouth football. Very old school, very kind of, okay, these guys are going for each other. Let's see how this ends up going. The injury reserve is going to be crazy after.
I got a take here, boys. So this is going to be probably the best defensive game of the weekend. I'm calling scoregami. This is going to be the only scoregami game of the weekend. I said special teams, and you bring up a point about the defense. I really do think this is going to be an oddball game that's going to make you yawn. And then at the very end, it's going to come down to which defense makes the final play. And you're going to be like either phew or, well, damn. So, yeah, I think that scoregami's in play here. There's my take. Take that one to the bank.
All right. Well, speaking of scores, I think this game is going to end up being, like you said, a defensive game. I think we're all agreeing on that. I'm going to say it is going to be a final score of 18-15 Birmingham. Scout, what do you think the score is going to be?
I hate having to do math. You have to do so much math when you're talking about these scores because it's like mathematically Robert R, the other guy that runs this account, he's so into math and stuff. So he gave me a probability sheet of the NFL and their scoring, or really all football and their scoring, than the XFL, radically different. Especially like after you get to 20 in the XFL, it's like almost the same, rather than if you get to 30 or 40 in the NFL, then it gets the same. So it's anyways, I think it'll be, I want to say 29 to 21. 29 to 21.
Okay.
Stats.
That's interesting. Keegan, what's that score prediction for you?
Direct score.
21-15. I think the Birmingham Stallions, Mark Gilbert makes the final play and picks it off. And this is off of a Panthers drive where they're driving into their territory and they get a little antsy to try to close it out. And I think Mark steps up and makes a play. So it's going to be one of them games. 21-15. I got the Birmingham.
I feel like it wouldn't be Mark. It would be like insert cornerback 4 or something. Like it has to be someone that we wouldn't expect. Speaking of Burns, great game. I said he had a great game. Some people are like, well, he didn't show up in the stat box. PFF pops up. He's the second best defensive player. Now that's like where I am the meme where it's like I will use something that fits my agenda and then not use it when it doesn't fit my agenda because I'm like, oh, it really likes Person Burns and Gilbert, and I'm like, great, and then I'm like, Casino, why? Because I don't know if y'all know this, but I'm a Jaguars fan, or no, y'all know I'm a Jaguars fan, but the Jaguars have had
Yeah,
linebackers with high tackles. We have Foye now. We had Damian Wilson beforehand, who was our tackle leader. Every single game, they'd have like a 40 or a 50 because they couldn't cover, but they'd have 14, 15 tackles. They had 3 tackles for losses and a sack, but they'd have like a 40 or a 50 in the linebackers. Not every linebacker is, you know, um,
yeah,
I'm trying to think, like, what I'm saying. Not every linebacker is a cover linebacker. Most of them aren't, honestly. But yeah,
yeah. All right. Oh, well, before Keegan, we want to ask you some questions, kind of talk about your time working with the Birmingham Stallions. But there's one piece of news I was about. I was bored one night, of course, day before the game. Excuse me, morning of the game. You know, things happen. I go on tests the trademarks in search engine for the U.S. government, trademark office stuff like that. What do I find? Three trademarks filed by USFL Enterprises. So, but this is kind of it's already starting to spread around. I've seen a couple of videos on it. Ohio Bulldogs, Canton Bulldogs, and the Nashville Tuners. Scott, what's your thoughts on these trademarks?
Nashville Tuners. I'm tired of Nashville sports, in my opinion. But if we're
Oh,
gonna
shut
have a
up! You're a
Nashville
Nashville
team,
fan.
well, I'm just saying we have the Stars, we have the Cats, we have well, hopefully the country music singers aren't predators, but and then we have the Titans. Um, and it's like the first two are country music names, and then we have every Nashville SC tries to be country, the MLS team, and then I'm just
How is that
like
country? It's Nashville Soccer Club.
no,
Are
they
you
they
just mad that the
try to be
Coyotes
country.
named Tempo?
They just try to be country. Just like look at they had four. So I have some friends that went up to the last game. They're Legion supporters or whatever, but they had four country. They had a country music singer as the national anthem. They had a country music singer that sang. Apparently, they have like some song, some intro song, like "You'll Never Walk Alone" is Liverpool's. I don't know. And then halftime performance, a country music singer, and then right before the end of, they had some injury on the field because there's injury timeouts in MLS now, and there was a country music singer. So, but yeah, but Tuners, whatever. Now
Okay.
the Canton Bulldogs thing, I
Anyway,
really like. I really like the Canton Bulldogs. I think it's a cool thing. I think Ohio Bulldogs or whatever, whichever one it is. I know that there's a lot of debate on Twitter about it.
okay. One thing about the
Bulldogs,
can trademark, I want to say this real quick. The NFL does have their own Canton Bulldogs trademark because, of course, Canton Bulldogs is a former NFL team.
yeah,
So that's why a lot of people, including myself, think that's why the Ohio trademark was filed, is in
yeah,
case these trademarks are all pending. I should say also they were filed on Friday. So a lot of people think if the Canton one gets denied, which my guess it probably will, if it sounds like for these possible expansion teams, if these
Yeah.
trademarks are used for that, Ohio would probably be the like kind of the indicator of where the team is located. And my guess is also they'll play in Canton still because why would you file a Canton trademark otherwise? So
yeah.
all right,
And what was the other one?
I just it
Bulldogs.
was Ohio. It was both the Ohio Canton Bulldogs and National Tuners. Keegan, real quick, what's your
Oh
thoughts
yeah.
on the two teams really, but the three trademarks?
Those names are trash. Just bring back the Denver Gold, man. Bring back the old team. Chicago Blitz, Denver Gold. I know that's
Jacksonville Bulls.
Jacksonville Bulls. Bring the throwbacks back, man. Or even
Hmm.
obviously we all want the Breakers and the Stars back next year. That would be nice, but no, I want some of the 80s teams back. I could care less about you're putting the cart before the horse, obviously. I just man, I want
I
some
feel
of the
like
teams back.
one thing with it is they don't want to have to deal with getting I think especially Fox doesn't want to have to deal with getting the like if there's an old brand, they don't have to deal with the secondary market, and there's a bunch of different old apparel stuff, and there's already apparel that exists. Now to me, it's like I remember first 2 years of the Generals, there was always some old guy from New Jersey that came in with like 80s General stuff. I thought that was really cool. Um, but yeah, but but you know,
Bring the gold back, or we
Yeah.
ride. I want the Denver gold. That's all.
what if it would just move the gold to wait, do
No,
do the Battlehawks go, are they St. Louis, Missouri or St. Louis?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, we need the Kansas City, Kansas gold. Come on, make it work.
Okay. All right. Okay. Keegan,
You can.
I want to say thank you again for joining the show. So I think a lot of people don't realize how important your job really was. We've gotten to talk to you a little bit, and we were actually on the field last season both at the same time. In case you didn't recognize me, I was the idiot who was always in a button up and
And
jeans on the field.
jeans.
We both yes, and we both got to wear those nice warm blue vests that the sun
Good.
just loved. Yeah,
Whew. Goodness, those things
yeah,
were hot.
so much fun. And when you when you go on the knees to get the entrances, and you have that turf mulch just burning into your kneecaps. Oh, so much fun. Uh, but you were someone who was like basically with the team 24/7, kind of basically documenting everything. I guess kind of what was it like, having to be almost like an extra member of the squad.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't trade those experiences for the world. Obviously, things happen, and I'm not with the team this season, but that doesn't mean my time with them was one of the best times I've ever had. At times I felt like I wasn't worthy of the opportunity to even be there. It was amazing to be able to be around the people that I was around. Obviously, when I kind of went through the announcement process, I got acquainted with a lot of different people that were within the spring league, and they embraced me with open arms. So that's what stood out, and that's why I'm still around it today, is because without people like you guys and wanting to embrace me, I know nothing about the USFL prior to joining it, vaguely about the XFL and USFL. And when I accepted it, I was like, I kind of made that public, and oh my gosh, you guys just embraced me with open arms, and man, it was awesome. But being around the teams, and being around the Breakers and the Stallions, the coaching staffs, they were tremendous. Great people. I mean, they're just like you and me. They just want to talk. They're really just kids at heart. They're 15-year-olds, 16, like they're children,
Yeah.
but they're fun, they're charismatic, and yeah, man, I enjoyed my time being around them. And the work was daunting, and it was it was a lot at times, which I learned a lot of valuable lessons in being more organized and structured, and
Mhm.
obviously drinking a lot of water, because that Alabama heat
Yeah.
will get you. I was not prepared for that.
Mhm.
But no, overall, my experience was tremendous, man. I was truly blessed to be given that opportunity, and if I could ever do it again, I would trade anything in the world, to be able to be there, and be able to do that again. That was fantastic. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think one thing
Mhm.
with me specifically was like, because like I knew who you were on Twitter, and I knew who Madison was on Twitter, and then
Yeah,
I saw you, and you like veered off a little bit, and then I introduced myself, and you're like, yeah, well, like it was Madison, and because this was Spring Stock 2
yeah,
at the bar,
yeah,
and it was Madison, and then it was the head lady,
yeah.
like you called her like your boss, yeah. And it
Um,
was like those two I talked to, and like they seemed, but you were the most like visible every single time there was anything. And I did the thing where like every single time I would try to like snipe you from the furthest shot possible, and it was so funny because it would be like I would get a picture of you, and then you'd be like, "Where were you? I didn't see you." I was like, "Oh, well, here's the zoomed out shot," and it's like me in like the middle of the line somewhere, and but yeah, but it was really cool, and like obviously I think we all liked your graphics and stuff, and
yeah,
it's a lot better than anything that we could shit post about. But uh, but Yeah, but it was cool, and it was like it was interesting. And then you were also not like any of us, like Buck's Alabama student. I go to AUM Montgomery, and then like there's a bunch of other people that like they're Auburn kids or they're Troy kids or UAB kids. So, but you're Missouri, and it's like it was just completely different vibe, different tone. You like different sports teams, and you like pro sports, which was even crazier because there's a lot of people in this that other than the Stallions, they don't like a pro football team.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so like I thought that was all cool, and you were really approachable. Yeah, I could text you, and then half the time, I remember one time um, I literally texted you because I was there like so early. I think no, it was the playoff game, and I saw he was there and Gene and Polo, and but you weren't out there yet, and I was like, hey, what are you doing? And then you're like, you were interviewing one of the players. But I do have a question. I'm putting you on the spot. Put you on the spot, and you're gonna hate answering this.
I'm good.
But of the players that you physically interacted with last year, doesn't have to be a Stallion. Doesn't
Mhm.
have to be a Stallion. Who pick it? I'll give you top three. Top three. Who are your top three just to interact with, vibe with? And this doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be on game day. I know like y'all had plenty of interactions throughout the, but top three in order. We're not giving you any order, so it has to be in order. So your first, second, and third. Who is your Mount Rushmore of? And you can add a fourth, but they have to be fourth. They can't just be tied for third. But
This one's gonna surprise you. Vontae Diggs. That was
okay,
number one. Vontae is just when I tell you he's a character, oh my gosh, that guy is literally he's the most approachable guy in the room, but God, like he'll say something out of pocket and you're just like, well, that was out of left field. And then guys like I man, obviously Magoo
yeah,
is that guy is, oh my gosh, as we like to call him, 2 Corinthians short of the Holy Bible. But hey, man, he got the job done on Saturdays and Sundays. He's an absolute dog. Uh, love you, Magoo. Let's see, Jace Sternberger. My goodness, every single time I freaking talk to him, he'd say something
yeah.
stupid and out of pocket. And then round out my top four. God, there is a fourth person. I'm just trying to think. Um, man, I'd probably say
He's,
Paul.
he's thinking we should say it publicly.
I would say Paul Adams. Paul Adams was an
Paul
offensive
Adams. Okay.
years. Um, he was the first one to approach me and kind of embrace me with the acquaint me with the breakers. He had actually was like, we both went to Mizzou around the same time, and he was like, hey, I'd love for you to come out and meet some of the guys. And he would invite me every Friday night to a dinner, and I'd be the only social media cat, and there'd be like 12 guys there, and they just embraced me like family, dude. And uh,
Yeah.
an honorable mention would be Wes Hills. I think Wes is
Okay.
those approachable guys, but
Mm.
man, I loved everybody. Everybody there was absolutely
Yeah.
awesome, and I treated them all like as if they were my friend or my brother. It's like a fraternity, bro. I wouldn't
Yeah.
trade the world.
Hey, and I did have to say one thing. I know it's a science podcast and everything, but the breakers, whenever you would just interact with them, and like they were, I don't know why I always felt that they were so big. It might have just been because like it was just linebackers or offensive linemen eating at like mug shots or something. But whenever I saw people in breakers hoodies, like at any point in the summer, it was like because I was at the Galleria
Yeah,
and it was Tay Diggs and because I didn't know what these guys looked like outside of the football uniform, right? At least like just visually. And then but I saw it was like two players and their girlfriends just like out in the Galleria or two players and two girls. And I was just like, hey, so I looked it up. It was like I think it was Tay Diggs. It wasn't West Hills, but it was one of their running backs too. And I
okay.
just thought it was so crazy how like physically big these guys are, especially because like some of them don't look that big on the field, especially because I walked by Matt Caskey at the or Cole Cabral, one of the two,
Yeah.
at the playoff game, and I was like, just felt really small. And I'm a 6 foot tall guy. Like I'm usually among normal people pretty tall, and then around athletes I just go. But yeah, that's a good top. I think I would agree if I met those guys. I've heard nothing but good. Paul Adams is the one that is definitely a new one, but all the offensive line guys, especially on Twitter, like I've seen a ton of them like in random comment sections and stuff. But
I,
yeah, but I wish I could have met Magoo face like and just had a conversation. I think I met his either his dad or like his wife or girlfriend's dad. It was one of the two. And then obviously with um who was crap. Who was your third? You
um,
said Wes. You
I,
said Wes and Paul. Okay, it wasn't Wes and Paul. But it was one of the other stallions. Or no, Jace. Jace. That's who you said.
uh,
Um, but I wish I could meet Jace because like I've talked to Jace through a comment section or through a reply so much.
I,
It's
I,
like if I
oh,
oh
finish your thought. Go ahead.
if I go on the field, bruh, like I will have the most professional, non-biased conversation with my favorite player on the Stallions as I can. But yeah, because
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
because we were talking about because if I do get a media pass, I'll have to be non-biased and have to wear generic clothing, and I understand I can't be the guy at the Dolphin Stadium where he gives Cyrus always like but uh, but I will definitely at least like have a little smirk on my face if I am talking to, or if I do have a conversation with Jace or something. So yeah.
So quick little story, if I may, just real fast. So it would have been about week 5. I think they played the Stars. After they beat the Stars, we started a tradition where we would go over to the Mexican restaurant right across the street. It would be Alex, Davion, Jace, Madison, and myself, and maybe a few other people would frequent in there and out, but we would all go out. We would go to the Mexican restaurant literally after every Stallions victory, and we would go and have we'd have a meal over there, have dinner, maybe a margarita or two, who knows. But no, just being able to cut up with the guys after that, like that is how community, like that's how
Yeah.
it's just like they're just like you and I. Like they want to be
So,
dudes, let them be dudes. So it was awesome to be around that. I love
yeah, and like I see because I know there's like the selfish Birminghamian and a lot of us that are like we hate that we don't get to experience that on a week in, week out basis. Like we'll probably get, I assume every hub got a little thing the day before the game. So I
yeah,
assume on April 12th, April 11th or something, we'll get a day before the game little thing. But um I do think that with Texas Live, with some of the things that are in Arlington, that there will be a community like they had in 2022, where it was like, I remember there were several different podcasts where a player talked about a player on like a completely different side of the conference, or like
yeah,
a Michigan player bonding with a Tampa Bay player, or something like that, right? And I think we'll see more of that, and I feel like that's the most important thing because I know dang it. PJ Walker had a teammate. I'm forgetting who. Like that story broke today, of one of the players talking to PJ Walker, and I'm forgetting which receiver it was. It was a receiver. Um, Figure it out in the comments. Anyways, but and it's like you see these guys in spring leagues, and they could be years apart, but there's this bond through. Well, hey, I knew him on this other team. Well, then I knew him, and you just start like the community is getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the minute, and I really like that. So,
right. Amen.
All right. Well, Gideon, I have one last question. How many hours did you spend on CapCut last season?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Well, I wasn't a cap cut guy, so going into the
Oh,
whole, I was a premier guy, and
okay.
uh,
I thought I was a little too big for my britches. I thought that I was able to, bring in something that maybe it never, I was trying to integrate my old process. And they're like, no, 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 keep it vanilla. We don't have to do anything crazy. And I just didn't get the memo. And then finally, later on in the season, God, better late than ever, I guess. I ended up adapting to CapCut and started doing more and more to kind of expedite things. But uh, I'm still not there with CapCut. I'll be honest with you. Adobe Premiere, and After Effects is where I got my sauce from. CapCut is a whole different beast, and it's probably, goodness sakes, it's probably why they didn't. They were like, "This is a joke." Probably why they didn't want me back because I didn't know my CapCut. I'm just kidding, but no, it was quite the adjustment. But no, yeah, I was way more of a Premier guy.
Ah, all right. Well, Keegan, thank you once again for coming on to the podcast. Where can people find you on social media? Any of your own stuff where you want to promote?
Yeah. The best way to follow us is I'm really trying to get it started back up. Strive Sports Productions. We're gonna try to kick off season 2 again. I was on a bit of a hiatus. We're at episode 3. Episode 4 is coming up the pike, and I got to get a couple of you guys on this podcast. I think we
Oh,
can make something happen where we have a merger. You allow me to come on this platform, I would be more than happy to invite you guys. So whenever you guys want to come on, you're more than welcome, and we'll get something squared away. But more episodes
sounds
coming.
fun.
So yeah.
All right. And Scout, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at well, look at this. We have bottom thirds now, y'all. Look at that. Look at that. You can find me. Well, I need to take this part out. This part's hibernating, but this part at Southern Charm SB on Twitter, at Southern Charm Sports on Instagram, at Southern Charm Sports on the Real app. If y'all use that, I'm starting to use it more. Please trade me all of your Braves cards. Anyways, um. I'll explain that at some point. Anyways,
All right.
but so breaking it down. Wait, I gotta do my next because I didn't post the last one. So
Okay.
if you want to buy season tickets to your Birmingham Stallions, there's a simple thing. There's a simple thing. We'll put a link in the comments. You enter that link. You type in code CHARM. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. Like it's not case sensitive. CHARM. That's letter CHARM. And it's a FIVO link, so you don't have to deal with the fees of a different ticketing app. And you can get any ticket you want there. We have it's single game tickets, but you can get single game tickets for any of the 5 games. So if like let's say, hey, you're a Bama fan, April 13th, I'm going to go to A-Day. Hey, we have April 20th. And then we have a bunch of others. And then if, hey, just a random shout here, if you happen to be a MLS or a Women's Super League, or it's not Super League, the Women's Soccer League. June
NWSL.
1st is yes, that one. Thank you. The one person that gets this is gonna hate me that I forgot that. June 1st is an open date for all those teams that I know that people follow. So June 1st versus it's the last game of the season. I forget who we play, but week 10. So yeah, but find that in
Okay.
comments or whatever.
All right, and of course I'm Buck as always. You can find me just the links to right there to the at Stallions USFL, also Stallions UFM if you don't want to type in the at. But yeah, I've been enjoying. I might have been after the game enjoying raking up some XFL fanboy kind of receipts. Might have pulled up some old tweets from Donald Payne. Shouts to Donald for being a good sport, by the way. When you tweet out Birmingham might not score any TDs, yeah, that receipt's going to be holding on after the merger. But yeah, but still. Oh, go ahead.
There was he did not post that. It was his somebody posted that for him because he's gotten a little he hasn't gotten heated or anything. Like he wouldn't call you anything, but he would back himself up. So he definitely got somebody to post that for him.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, this was a fun weekend. But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Again, review of what's going to happen next week. This upcoming weekend, excuse me, is Michigan. We're going to talk about the first home game with Memphis coming to town next week also. So a lot coming through the pipeline this upcoming season. We'll see you guys next week.